Hey there, welcome to SharkCast Pty Ltd, podcast dedicated to the greatest sporting club in the history of the world, the mighty Cronulla Sharks. This show is brought to you by Dyson Logistics, the Royal Motor Yacht Club in Port Hacking, and Jason Hawes of Crips and Crips Real Estate. My name is Sam Shinazzi, OG 2015, supporting this great club for a lot longer than that. And on the other end of the line, 2 weeks in a row, we're not going to call it a habit, we're not going to call it a thing yet, but just this is what we're doing. 2 weeks in a row, we have a team list trial live stream, and we have the great Dan Nichols joining us yet again. Appreciate your time, appreciate your expertise. We're going to go through the team real shortly. I've only seen the starting back line, and it's kind of exciting. But Dan, how are you?
Man, I'm doing very well, thanks. If I do pop off, I'm a very busy man. Not really.
Got things to do. I understand.
Mate, I've literally seen Paul just sent me a message, which I tried to quickly close off. So I've seen one picture of one player. So very excited.
It's always Paulie with the instant messages, isn't it?
No, I love it. Don't ever stop, Paul.
He's a good man. So we play Canberra this Thursday night. It is a 7:50 kickoff down in Canberra. Trial number 2. There's a host of ins and outs. So we're going to talk about that, and then if time allows, we'll talk a bit about the trial, and we'll get out of here. But if you got any comments, leave them for us, and we'll chuck them up on the live stream. This will be a podcast later on as well. So, Dan Nichols, your Cronulla Sharks for this week to play the Canberra Raiders. Here we go. Both seeing this for the first time. We'll do it slow and sure, and then we'll come back to it. Fullback, second week in a row, starting fullback, Mr. Will Kennedy. For the second week in a row, starting on the wing, the man with the same initials as me, Sam Stonestreet, holds his spot. Now, there could be a reason. In the centers, making his debut for the season, we have the great Jesse Ramian, and Cal Iro will also back up as well, and making his season debut on the other wing, and he's going to do it for another 3 years, baby. Ronaldo Mulitalo will be playing in this trial. And the great news, the halves, starting halves, Braden Trindle, Nico Hines will start this match. Look out. How fun is that? Dan, I know you're a musician. Give me the biggest drum roll you got, because at number 8, we have the club debut of Aden Fanua Blake, commonly referred to as AFB. He's going to be just doing this all night long and offloads and all sorts of things. So that's exciting. Not all night, first 20 minutes. Number 9 is one of our personal favorites, Blake Brayley. Number 10, back to his more traditional position, is Oregon Gafusi. Your back row, Britton Nickera, Teague Wilton, Captain Cam McInnes, back from injury. Your immediate bench, and it's a pretty hot-looking one, Dan Atkinson, Sifa Talakai, Braden Hamley, making 2 games in a row, which is great for him, and tall Tom Hazelton. In 18, hot off a pretty good match last week, Billy Burns. Speaking of good matches last week, Jaden Beryl. Speaking of good matches last week, Tuku Haitapua in number 20. The list goes on. Extended bench, Chris Vaiella, Riley Pollard, Taj Ford, Michael Gabriel, Christian Dixon, and Eli Clark. Now, it's important to note there are 2 more spots that could be taken. They're just not named yet, because Canberra have named 28 people. Mm-hmm. We have only named 26 for the time being. So watch this space. Can't see the reason why. Maybe they're waiting on injury news, etc., etc. But that's your 26. There's a few fellas missing from that list, and they would be your Fatilis, your McCullochs, your Crouches, unfortunately, because he impressed the heck out of me. But as I said, this could maybe change a little bit with the addition of a couple of guys, and watch this space on that. So let's go back to the start, Dan. Your back line is Kennedy, Stonestreet, Ramian, Iro, and Mulitalo. What are your thoughts?
I would name that for round 1. I'm supremely happy. Mm-hmm. Wouldn't anyone willing to jump on the Stonestreet usurp Katoa? There is obviously a reason that it's been named this week. And I think it's pretty obvious to anyone who watched the trial on the weekend that Katoa was hanging onto his shoulder, unfortunately. Looked pretty horrible, but should have set up the greatest try in preseason history, but they missed that one. Look, mate, 1 through 5, I love it. That's exactly the 5 I'd be naming. Obviously, Iro didn't really put a huge shift in this past weekend. Looked like he'd be given to go get some minutes and get out of there okay. Obviously, seeing Ronaldo hot off the news today fills me with excitement. And Will Kennedy's the only standing fullback. I thought he played pretty bloody well the other night. Made a really good last-ditch tackle, which was great to see. So 1 through 5, I'm stoked.
What a great fortune the club has when one of their 2 starting wingers goes down and then you bring in Sam Stonestreet. It's pretty good.
Spot on. Spot on. There'd be 5 or 6 teams that would kill for Sam Stonestreet to start.
Now, as exciting as the Trindle-Hines combination to start the game is, I can already see the critics with their red pen waiting for every little thing to happen. So good news, though. They'll be able to get some time out there, get some match fitness. And are you surprised at all that they're both playing? Are you good?
No, I'd play both. I'd play both for 40, and then you got the younger halves to chuck back in. Trindle's been named at 6, yeah?
Yes.
Yep, I think that'll be the way it is. I don't know if they'll play like that, but yeah, prepare for Nico to kick 6 40-20s, and because he didn't kick a 7th, he's the worst player ever and get written off by half the Facebook group. I'm excited. I want to see these 2 play together for 40 minutes. It's a shame they're missing the All-Stars, but the selfish Sharks fan in me is glad they're running out Thursday night.
Okay, so we get to the star-studded forward pack, and Fanua Blake has been named to play. He looks amazing in that jersey. And he is going to be partnered by Oregon Kafusi, who played the lock last week and did a pretty good job too. Blake Brayley will have his first hit out. Not that he really needs it fitness-wise. And then your back row is pretty exciting because these guys, when they're on there, they're red hot, and that's Britton Nickero, Teague Wilton, Cam McInnes. We know Cam had a minor leg injury, but he's obviously back to full capacity. If he's been named to play a trial, that means you're ready to rock. It'd be good to see Teague cement that spot as well. It is his spot, but just to sort of let everyone know how good we know he is. And a pretty handy back row there.
But I love it. That's our back row for the past 2 years, and it should be for the next 5 or 6. Very exciting. Definitely want to see Teague just take that little step forward this year. Thought he was pretty darn good last year. This year I think he'd be better because he's someone we picked real early that said he'd play Origin, and I'm still feeling pretty good about that shout. This is the year.
Immediate bench, so they've gone with the utility. Dan Atkinson, who had a busy game last week in the halves. Sifa Talakai back to the bench. Hamlin Welly and Tom Hazelton. Out of those 4 guys, Hazelton had the best game. Played some, reasonably big minutes for a trial. Scored a try, but aside from that, was pretty dominant. Hamlin Welly was fine coming back. We just need more of it. Like, he was strong. Sifa Talakai was actually pretty good. And Dan Atkinson playing a different role, but very busy, and looks like he's got his mind on the game for the Sharks this year, even though he signed somewhere else. So it doesn't surprise me, that bench. I'm super happy to see Billy Burns at 18. I thought he was terrific last week. And also Jaden Beryl was very good. Like, not one negative thing about his game last week. I thought he was really good. And he's just sort of reminded me that, should Bradley go down, or if he needs a break, or even if we want just another utility on the bench, Beryl is more than up for it. He's probably the most mature New South Wales Cup player out there. And he got a bit of first grade last year as well, so he's ready to rock. Tugu Hatapua looked good in a small dose of what we got. He looked pretty good. Chris Vela holds his spot in 21. He had a mixed game, involved in a couple of the highlight reels, but good to see him out there. Now these 2, this is really good to see. Dan, Riley Pollard, and Taj Ford. They definitely tried to put their stamp on the last 15 last week, and we'll talk about that in a sec. Michael Gabriel had a good moment as well. It kind of ended up negative, but he had a good moment there. Christian Dixon gets another shot, and Eli Clark. So some outside backs more than anything on that extended bench, which is also interesting.
Yep.
The other mob, just briefly, Canberra look to be at pretty full strength. Just going through the team. I'm not going to go through each guy, but that looks reasonably like their main team. So I would say it's 80% the starting 13. What did you make of last week? You were at the ground. What did you make of the performance from the Sharks?
Hey, first and foremost, shout out to the crowd. That was a huge trial crowd. I know it didn't come across on TV because the way Fox had it lined up, or rather, they didn't have the southern end. It was packed. Like that entire stand we were in was packed, and so were the two major stands on the side. So huge props to everyone that was there.
I noticed the outer, not the concourse, the outer between the Monty Porter and the ET stand looked really solid. Like on TV, they had a bit of a shot there and it looked really full.
It was great. It was pumping too, and the line to get in was ridiculous. It moved exceptionally quick. They opened up another gate. Shout out to, I think it was Dino, in fact. But yeah, everyone who went, huge shout out. Mate, I thought in terms of hit out, it was good. There were some people in the groups that were like, "Oh, we were too slow this and that." It's your first trial. Who cares? What I wanted to see, I saw. And I reckon, I'm straight up, I reckon the best player on the park was named Pura, and I think the least good player on the park was named Pura. I'll leave it to guess who was, but one definitely pressed his first grade credentials in a big way. And
now that's interesting. You've raised that. Neither chap is on this team list. What's going on there?
Both playing for the All-Stars on Saturday.
Thank you for informing me. You are a rugby league expert. I thought Hohepa was really good. So you're right about that. You're right about both things. That's your opinion. I thought Nephi wasn't the worst. I thought he was trying hard. I thought there were some positives. I thought some of the kicking was okay. I thought defensively a little bit more improvement there. He's still got a way to go to play first grade, I think. But I wasn't overly bummed by what he did, personally.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. You're not going to hang him by this. No. He's not putting the never to play. Mate, it's tough to put two. I mean, they had their full strength halves, and we had two blokes that are going to play New South Wales Cup or off the bench. So you'd be silly to jump too much of a conclusion. He is a New South Wales Cup level half who can play first grade.
Yep.
Atkinson is a first grade half who plays New South Wales Cup. So I think you saw a bit of. There wasn't a whole lot of cohesion, but maybe if you're running out with those halves this year, it's only because of a big injury crisis. I'm definitely not too much down on him. I thought his brother was outstanding. He plays so much larger than he is physically. And I dare say that if we're going to name a utility, I'd probably name him over Atkinson. Just personal preference, because I like to play with the four forwards. But, geez, he put his name forward, mate. Stoked with his effort.
I didn't realise that he was doing the dummy half stuff or that he had that strength in his game. I really love his hit-ups. Kieran was mentioning he's like a little pinball. Like, he's not the strongest, toughest guy you'll ever see run the ball, but he was making meters. And that was a perfect example to sort of bounce off one guy, go off another. It wasn't sort of even, I would say, overly dominant. He just got the job done, and he scored a nice try from a kick at the end. It seems like a really nice fella. He did the interview afterwards with Sharks Media, and he could become a bit of a cult favorite, I think, Hohepa. But I'd tell you who impressed me was, it didn't really come to a lot, but the two halves that came out at the end, the young blokes, they were really good. And they've been rewarded with another hit out this week at the end. Well, I guess at the second half, at least, of what we're going to see. But Taj Ford and Riley Pollard, what do you think of them?
No, I thought they were fantastic. Pollard was screaming for the field goal at the end.
Yeah.
Obviously, in a trial, results don't matter. It would have been nice to see if he slotted it, because I think he was certainly confident. When he scored that very obvious no try, the boys all jumped on him. So that, it looks an important player for the future. Taj Ford kicked the living flip out of the ball on a few occasions and caused that error at the end that led to the opportunity to kick the field goal. So I was impressed by both of them. Both very young. Both may play a bit in New South Wales Cup this year. I know Pollard's flag eligible. Not sure about Taj. But, in terms of what I saw, my phone lit up for a couple of reasons, and most of it was those two boys towards the end, and a lot of them just said our depth is incredible.
The thing that I loved was the way they carried themselves, and I spoke a little bit about that last year when I watched Pollard train, just the way he carries himself amongst first graders and elite players and the coaching staff. He looks like a rugby league player destined for at least a first grade career. And that's exactly what I saw out of him and Ford last weekend. So that was really impressive. And even just, like some of the big boppers, I thought Felix Vartilli, who I have to admit, in my opinion, has a way to go. Like, I know you guys love him and everyone loves him, he's got a way to go till he cuts into first grade. We're talking years potentially, but he didn't look out of place there. Like, he was doing his thing. He was rocking out. And the guy that really impressed me, and I watched the replay back today, was Lachlan Crouch. He looks mean.
Yeah, don't they look big? We just got this size. Even the starting forwards, and I mean, they had Fisher Harris, and our forwards just look so much bigger than theirs physically. Yep. And then when their blokes came on and our blokes came on, we look bigger again, other than Puru, who's quite small. Plays big, but quite small. I was just really impressed with all the kids, to be honest. I thought Dixon ran the ball hard out wide too. Vayler as well got smashed, got straight back up and into it, which I was really happy to see. I like what I saw from Clark. He looks like he's got some speed. And I thought Hiroti played well at fullback too. Not exceptional as role. No. To think we got a guy there with 40 or 50 games to his belt, who's probably third or fourth in line. You can just put in anywhere and know he's going to give you a role. That's good to have.
I was super impressed with his stint in the centres, like defensively for, I guess, the first half of the game. Like, I thought he was terrific, and he was close to best out in the field. So, and he's also playing All-Stars as a reward. So, again, if you need to slot these guys in, it's not for a good reason, but they're gonna get a job done for you. So, good depth there for the Sharks. What are you expecting? Gabriel was great. He's a lot of these young guys, they've got the errors in them because they're young, but they've also got that speed or that electricity or the toughness. Like they all have something about them that's going to carry them at least a certain way in this game. So they've got a really good bunch. I don't need to tell you that, but they've got a really good bunch of young blokes out there. What are you thinking is going to happen? Are we going to see 40 minutes from the Stars? Any more? What do you think?
I reckon they've sort of named a whole heap of outside backs. It might depend on what Canberra do, because if they play the full 40 with their Stars, I think we do, and then halftime you see mass changes. I'd be shocked to see Nico play more than 40. Fanua Blake, I'd be shocked if he plays. 25 feet up, get ready for Vegas. Yeah. We've got so much talent on the bench to come through. And then the outside backs, look, I don't think Hero and Ramian will see more than 40 minutes. You got centres. I'd probably give Stone Street as many as I could. Ronaldo doesn't need it. He can play 15. Who cares? We know what you're going to get out of Ronaldo. So I'd probably like to see a bit more Talakai in the second row too. I like what I saw there. And you have to imagine he's next one up, although Billy Burns is also going to play some minutes. So 40 to 50 stars. Nico and Adam Fanua Blake, I just get him out there and get him off.
Let me ask you this, and it's pure speculation. So people watching this, listening to it later, it's just pure speculation. But say, for example, you knew that Katoa wasn't going to be playing round one, and pure speculation, no reason to think that he's not going to. In fact, I'll say he will, just to be clear. Would you then have Stone Street play heaps and heaps of minutes, or would you put him in Cotton Wool as well?
If he's playing well, send him back out for 10 minutes in the second half, then off. If he's not playing well, give him the full 80 and give him a chance to play well, because you can't send him to Vegas on the back of a bad game.
Gotcha.
I think he'll play one, but...
Yeah. I mean, we haven't heard anything about Katoa that's overly scary, so it could just be precaution. Hopefully it is. I'm sure we'll find out. What are you feeling now? Are you a bit more confident after last week?
Yeah, I feel good. I mean, we 12 all, they played their starters. We didn't really. And it was 6 all when it was their best on our best. I mean, that's a huge win. Shows you where the teams are at, though, because I think we're considerably better than them. Getting minutes into Pollard and Taj was huge. I love what I saw from Beryl. That guy's too good to be playing New South Wales Cup. I cannot believe someone hasn't snapped him up, full disclosure. And I like what I saw from Tom and Ueli, which was probably what I was mainly looking for, because they were the two big boppers. And Kennedy, I thought he did everything he could without being spectacular, but I didn't. There was one negative before I go back into the positives. There was a 4-on-3 left, and Kennedy swung around. And they went to Purr. He looked, he dummied, he went back inside, and Billy Burns got smashed. They go out the back, we score every day of the week. That was probably the only negative I can remember. But if you're talking 80 minutes of trial football and I can name one negative, that's a 10 out of 10 performance, mate.
Just on to Ghastly 10 who just joined us. We did speak about Sione. We're not 100% sure what's going on. We think it's precautionary. No cause for alarm just yet. there is just he was injured. We don't know the depth of that, but don't panic just yet. Thank you for correspondence. Yeah, you're right, Dan. With one negative that you can think of, that's a positive. The handling was okay. Like for a first hit out, the handling was okay. There were a few that I can think of that I'd love to have back from certain players, but they were just that's what's going to happen. It's footy. It's ridiculously hot, and it's their first hit out. I thought so. There was criticism that we didn't spread the ball much. There was criticism that we weren't particularly flary. Criticism for the attack, and I understand that. Like that's not wrong, but you have to look at A, the team that we put out there, and B, it's a first hit out. But I also go back to A, the team we put out there. It wasn't our superstar team. If they were all out there, I don't think it would have been so kind of meat and potatoes. And I say that with respect. Maybe in a trial match, that's what you want, meat and potatoes, some good hits on the body, controlling the ball, kicking the ball. They did all that pretty good. Atkinson, who is, as you say, I can't remember exactly what you said, but a first grader who plays New South Wales Cup, he controlled the game pretty good with his kicking. The young guys came on at the end. They kicked really well, as we saw. So it was a hit out just to get rid of all that kind of rust. And compared to the Warriors, who were pretty named pretty strong, I thought it was very positive.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, we conceded 12 points and 6 to their starters. I said going in, I thought it would be about 40-20 or 40-18. It turns out I meant the Super Bowl score, not ours. My mistake. But if you'd said 12 all, I'm in what world? What, a half time? So it was a different game to what I expected. They definitely didn't go the flare options. There was nothing. There were no silly chip kicks. There were no crossfields. Oh, there was that one crossfield. They kicked the smallest bloke on the field. There's your second negative. But mate, Hero might as well not have been there. He just tackled hard. I think he took 2 runs. Jones Street ran hard but didn't go looking for the ball. It felt like it just gets some minutes in your legs, boys. The forwards go forward and kick to the corners and tackle hard, which when it comes down to it, that's a pretty good game plan. That's one parents have been using for 5 or 6 years in a row. You'll see some more ball work this week because obviously your boys are back on the wings and in the centres. But overall, I mean, come on. It's a trial that we didn't lose to a full-strength Warriors team in front of a big crowd on a Friday night.
Now, Ghastly says, do you see Katoa staying now? Ronaldo's down for a long time. So we've talked about that a lot, and we will keep talking about it. I think out of the 3 guys, Katoa, just because of probably not even age, but just sort of wear and tear and experience, probably age, he's probably in the pecking order of things potentially below a Stone Street who has the world at his feet. However, and I'm talking to the number 1 fan club member right here in Dan Nichols, me personally, I thought his game was a little hit and miss on the weekend. I'm seeing all these things saying, amazing game, da-da-da. I thought he did some really good stuff. I thought he did some really not so good stuff. It's a trial. We're going to move on. I think he's got a lot of growth to do still. I would throw him in round 1 if needed. Absolutely. I'd throw him in round 13 if needed. For me right now, it's Katoa, Ronaldo, Stone Street. But moving forward, you look at contracts, you look at age, you look at injuries, you look at wear and tear, the whole thing. Stone Street comes in, and I think that he probably gets the deal done. And I think that he probably becomes long-term at some point, as long as he plays his cards right. Like, he's just got to keep it clean off the field, keep it clean on the field, and then give yourself the best chance to be that guy. I think, what's the stat, Dan? Is it 8 tries in 5 games or something, or something really good? That's not going to get you a 3-year deal. Like, you can do everything else, but he's on his way. Now, you would keep him, obviously.
Yeah, I would have re-signed him yesterday on a 5-year deal, but put it this way, Stone Street will start in 2026.
Okay.
It's him and Ronaldo. That's what I
And is Katoa at another club?
Look, if he's willing to play second fiddle and play a bit of Newtown, I don't know how you go paying a bloke on that much money in that kind of role. If he's happy to play for Newtown and travel with the squad and play games, there's no way I'm getting rid of him. He's too good a player. But in saying that, you got 4 or 5 guys coming through, and you can add Eli Clark to that now. So 6 guys coming through that can play on the wing. So if they started Christian Dixon this weekend, I'd have no issues with that. I don't think he starts in Vegas, but he's a big body. He's a good kid. He scored tries for laughs in New South Wales Cup. So I'm not worried about the depth at all. If Katoa say he's on 450K, say, hey, Parramatta want me for 500, they got a starting spot. I'm not going to begrudge him leaving. I don't want him to leave the club. But if he was to leave tomorrow and Stone Street start round 1 and sign a 5-year deal, I'm taking that all day, because you can't teach height, you can't teach speed, and Stone Street's miles above anyone else. I
think the best way to answer it from a not an official point of view, but from a way that they would be thinking, and I apologize if this is completely too obvious, if they see Stone Street as a future first grader, then Sione will probably have to make way, because they just signed the other bloke to a long-term deal. The other bloke is the number 1 winger. He's close to the number 1 winger in the game most weeks. So Ronaldo kind of picks himself. So then it becomes Katoa versus Stone Street if you keep them all. We'll see what happens. It's interesting. They're all terrific club men. We love them all dearly. We'll see. Yeah, he does. And he's on his way. I didn't want to be too negative before. He's on his way. He had some really good stuff last week, and he had some stuff like most players in trials you got to sort of improve on. And we've seen him do it in the top level, and we'll see how he goes. Jake says, let's go. Ronnie signs. We get to see our future wing pairing. There's another one for the future wing pairing. Thanks, Jake. Appreciate you. It's going to be fascinating to watch, Dan. More week-to-week Cronulla Sharks for at least the first half, we think. And it'll be the last hit out before the Vegas game. They're obviously going to train the house down in between now and then, with a bit of travel as well. But it's going to be cool to see how it goes. The Raiders team, as I said, is strong. It doesn't scare me at all. Although I do like the hit up, the matchup when you see Josh Papali versus Adam Fanua-Blake. That looks kind of sweet on the NRL site. So it'll be one to watch, that's for sure. And the Oregon Kaufusi story as well, starting at prop. So we'll see what happens there. So apologies to anyone listening who can hear the swarm of birds attacking me right now. It's like something out of an Alfred Hitchcock film. Don't know what's going on, but check that out once we're done. Of course, as you know, Dan, you're a veteran podcaster and media person. As soon as you hit record, something's going to happen. It's your Wi-Fi, it's the birds, it's the lightning storm, it's 9-year-old Chester over there. Something's going to happen. So that's what's happening today. It's the birds. And, I'm just living in their world.
Right now, I've got some people talking in the background, so apologies if you can hear. They're probably talking about the Sharks. I can't hear them properly. So
I hope so. Garcia also said really liking the bench, hoping Toby comes back strong for when Tom most likely leaves. Well, Tom's not leaving this year unless something goes down that we don't know about. He's strongly rumored to be going across the bridge. We all make mistakes in life, and that's going to be his. But Toby, what are we looking, around 3 or 4 minimum?
Mate, I think he's got to come back to Newtown.
Whew. For fitness, yeah. Why not?
And that said, as one of Toby's biggest fans, mate, but simply put, he's got to come back to Newtown. He did it last year. He'll be fine.
Now, I'm going to flash up something now, and it's a question for you, Dan, and it's probably the most important question you're going to be asked this year and potentially in your life. You ready?
Here we go.
For the people listening on podcast, has Terry, so your colleague, partner in football, has he got his visa for Blake Island yet? We're all here waiting with AFB.
The paperwork's filled out, and it's in the envelope, and it's sitting right there to be posted.
Okay.
So it's getting close. It's getting close.
So.
He was fantastic last year. I thought he had the year last year that deserved Player of the Year. The year before, not so much. Yep. But if you want a good year, more recent than past is great. So we're sitting on the tarmac, mate, both of us, and Terry's probably the seat behind me, but very, very close.
Well, I heard some things last year. You guys are definitely getting ready to send that application off. You're getting close.
Bradley was great. We just wanted to see him do it more often than not, and he definitely did last year. So
that's fair.
Absolutely.
That is fair. All right, Dan Nichols, thank you so much for your time. We can hear you exclusively on Fins Up this week, probably, and moving forward, of course, tonight, and then week to week. and you're also Rugby League Outlaws, and you
Tomorrow?
also write for, is it Non-Zero you write for? Non-Zero,
Zero
that's
Tackle.
a record label. Zero Tackle,
Yeah,
I'm getting all weird. Zero Tackle you write for as well, and if you like hearing about New South Wales politics, you can follow him on the X as well. But that's buyer beware. I'm not telling you to do that, believe me.
It's football season now. All that stuff doesn't matter.
So less Chris Menz, more Failer. Gotcha.
Yep, spot on. CV, baby.
All right. Dan, thanks for your time. Appreciate it. We are going to be back with another episode, all being well, sooner than you think, potentially with young Josh Bowling. So see how we go with that. But we will definitely talk to you after the Canberra game. Enjoy the game. Dan, enjoy your week of media, and we'll speak to you soon, my friend. Really appreciate your time. Till then,
thank you.
up Cronulla.